what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Frater Oz again. So I wanted to make a video today about a subject that's very important to me. A subject that sometimes is a source of frustration for me. And a subject that's difficult to boil down into a short video. And that subject is practical Thelema. So, it sometimes frustrates me that Thelemic magicians seem to quite often view this all as theoretical and supernatural, and a lot of times don't really consciously bring it into their lives as a means to accomplish goals in real life. And I don't mean by the method of drawing pentagrams in the air and yelling God names at the walls, okay? I mean in a practical way. Thelema is a very practical philosophy. All the practices that are laid out by Crowley, with a few exceptions, are tools and are there, in my opinion, for a very specific purpose that I often think is missed. Now, Crowley talks about it in these kinds of terms that I'm going to use today in many places, but often it is overshadowed by the occult imagery and the supernatural jargon and everything that's used throughout his writings. And while, to those who believe in the supernatural, and, I can see the value of all of that stuff, and I myself have been one of those people in the past, I think that after years and years of doing this, there comes a certain point where you find this balance between natural and supernatural, between the real world and the world of spirits and things, and you find this balance, and you start to really see how this stuff is effective in everyday life. I feel like some people don't. And a discussion that I had the other day with a friend,
keep left onto I-55
I talked about how, in my view, people basically come at Thelema in the beginning from two different angles. You have people that come to it from a very intellectual angle, and they're attracted by the codes and Kabbalah and the memorization of tables and connecting dots and making connections like a conspiracy theorist would. And then you have people who come to it from more of a creative, more of a I don't know how to say it, more of a practical standpoint. They see value in the things on a real world level. And then each of these, as they move through, when they stick around, they start to embrace the other side of that. So the creative person finds things that they want to learn more about, and then they pursue that in an intellectual fashion, integrating that into their Thelema. And the people who are intellectual start to find things that are practical and begin to integrate that creative, practical side in. And then after years of doing this, you come to this equilibrium, this balance between the real world and the intellectual. And you find that Thelema is very practical.
I-55 towards Chicago.
Now, where does Crowley talk about this? Well, just in one very obvious place that he talks about it. We've all heard magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. But we very rarely hear what he says directly after that, okay? So Crowley says, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but Crowley says magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Illustration. I wish to inform the world of certain facts within my knowledge. I therefore take up magical weapons, pen, ink, and paper. I write incantations, these sentences, in the magical language, that which those who I wish to instruct understand. I then summon spirits, booksellers, and publishers, and constrain them to deliver my message unto the people. Therefore, this production and production and construction are an act of magic whereby I cause change to occur in conformity with my will. So he's breaking it down into very practical terms. Sorry. And he talks about how will is a verb, not a noun. He describes this. What he's getting at is that will, or Thelema, is a method whereby we accomplish our goals. Love under will. Love in Thelema is the act of integrating opposites, of the unification of opposites. This love is to be under will. It is to be conscious and willed. So what does this mean in a practical sense? If we're trying to accomplish a goal and something is leading us astray, something is keeping us from accomplishing this goal, we need to find the opposite of that thing and bring it in to balance it out, to keep ourselves on this track of what in the book of the law would call pure will. For pure will, unassuaged of purpose, delivered from the lust of result, is every way perfect. Crowley describes this lust of result in two different ways. It seems to often be construed as delivered from the lust of result, meaning without the lust of result. But Crowley also says that it could mean, i.e., with tireless energy, or because delivered from a lust of a result. I could go on and on with quotes like this. It's one of the reasons that I don't like the word, the phrase true will. And this came up in a discussion the other night, that true will is often perceived by people as this destiny, this predetermined supernatural idea of destiny. But that's not the way Crowley talks about it, and that was brought up in this discussion. He was like, well, I don't think Crowley ever really talks about it like that, and they were right. But nevertheless, people perceive it that way. People are caught up in this supernatural side of Thelema, and so they think it's some supernatural destiny, okay? So, back to the practices. When we look at and examine the purposes of these practices like Liber Resh and the Mass of the Phoenix, saying will before meat, all the practices in Liber O that are like determined for how long you can hold your breath or how much alcohol you can consume, and Liber Jagorum, where you're forcing yourself to do things, Asana, where it's very painful but you're supposed to do these things, concentration, where you're supposed to hold specific images in your mind. Time after time and instance after instance, what these practices are doing is they are teaching the body and the mind to conform to the will. This is the goal of Thelema. Becoming an extremely balanced person who knows themselves, knows their limits, knows themselves on a deep level. And when you have a really good idea of your your limitations, and the things that you excel in, you are more able to determine a will or a goal that is true, meaning it is in line with what you are naturally predisposed to. In other words, it is your truest will, or a true goal that you actually will be suited to accomplish. What methods do we use to accomplish these goals? Well, Crowley says in one of the Class E documents, he talks about how thou must, 1, find out what is thy will. 2, pursue that will with a tireless effort. B, detachment. C, peace. Now, so instead of looking at the will or the true will as this supernatural idea of destiny, let's say that we call it a goal, okay? Now, I've used the analogy of somebody that wants to become a doctor over and over in the past, okay? But I'm going to give you a real world example from my own life. I'll give you 2. I decided that I wanted my teeth fixed, okay? And so I tirelessly strove toward that goal until I achieved it. How did I do this? I did it with tireless effort. I moved everything else out of my way. I stopped spending extra money. I didn't go home as much. When I did go home, I didn't spend money. I focused in on researching, learning about it, finding everything out I could about it. I disciplined myself to save the money to do it. I overcame my fears of going in and having this surgery. And I did it. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Okay? That is what you have to do. You have to decide on a goal, lust for the result of that goal, and then do everything necessary to achieve that goal, no matter what it is. That means, you may have to stop spending as much money so you can save money for this goal, or you may have to move things out of your life that are in the way, that are keeping you from accomplishing this goal. You may have to, an example of a friend of mine, when he became a lawyer, he basically locked himself in his house for months while he studied until he became a lawyer. Another example, in 2000, I believe, 2010 maybe, I decided that I wanted to print a bunch of LibreOz cards and spread them across the United States. I took in donations. I got people to help me, and I executed the largest printing of LibreOz in history and distributed it to OTO bodies across the country so that they could spread the law of Thelema. I was not in a great place in my life when I did this, but I decided to do it. I buckled down. I did all the things that needed to be done. I did the work required. I got other things out of my way, and I accomplished the goal. I didn't do it by drawing pentagrams in the air. I didn't do it by groveling before spirits and begging them to give me something. I did it because I decided to do it. I lusted for that result so much that I moved heaven and earth and moved everything out of my way in order to accomplish that goal. That is Thelema, guys. Now these practices, all these practices, that I did in my youth, they really did train me to be able to discipline myself, to be able to do this, And some people, their goals may be completely different. Their goal may be to become rich. Their goal may be to buy a house. Their goal may be whatever their goal is. As long as they are naturally suited to that and they make the means fit themselves as an individual and the things that they actually are able to accomplish, if they pursue that in a thelemic way and truly cut out the things that are in their way and embrace the things that help them toward that goal, they can accomplish that goal. Crowley says of Thelema and of will, while it is the apotheosis of freedom, it is also the strictest possible bond. It is about self-discipline. It appears to us to be all about freedom, freedom, freedom. But how do we gain freedom? We gain freedom through discipline, through disciplining ourselves to achieve the goals that allow us this freedom on a greater level than just our day-to-day wanderings. Thelema is very practical, okay? And I will say that it takes quite a bit of study and stuff to get to the place where you truly are able to understand the practical nature of it in a lot of cases. But it is very practical. You can use it to accomplish your goals. And I just want to put that out there. I want people to understand that Thelema is about much more than some supernatural jargon. It's about much more than the star ruby. These practices that Thelemites do daily, like Resh, like Will Before Meat, Mass of the Phoenix, all of these practices are meant to keep us mindful. They are mindfulness exercises to help us to stay focused on the Thelema, the will, to help us stay focused on that. Doing Resh 4 times a day keeps you in a constant state of realizing that you're supposed to be focused on your will. The exercises like asana and pranayama and dharana and all of these are meant to prepare the vessel. They are meant to force yourself to be able to be in control of yourself physically and mentally in order to be able to pursue your goals in this fashion by getting shit out of the way. Things that you want to do. That's why will is not want. Because as you are pursuing this will, there will be things that you want to do that pull you off of the path of that will. And part of pursuing that will is to have the strength of character and the strength of will and the resolve to shun those things, even if you want them, that draw you away from that goal, and only focus on the goal until it's complete. This is what it means to be a Thelemite. Not endless studying in books, not endless ritual work. There is success. Love is the law. Love under will.